So before we start, I want to play like a really quick game. All right? It's gonna make sense in a little bit. It doesn't make sense yet, but it will. I want everyone to look around and find anything that is red, and count all the red things that you see. Every little thing that you see that is red. Find everything that's red. Count them. Count it. Alright. How much blue did you guys see? You guys didn't see any blue because you guys weren't paying attention to the blue, right? You were just focused on the red. And you didn't only see red, but most of you also saw orange and similar colors just because you were focused on seeing only that thing. And where do I want to go? You cannot create what you don't focus yourself on seeing. You cannot, if you're not focused, if you don't understand what you're doing, you're not going to be able to do it. So what I'm going to do today is teach you how future bounce works. Because if you don't understand what you're doing, you're not going to be able to do it. It's like telling someone who was just born to make dubstep. He doesn't know what dubstep is. So how did he make dubstep? That's step number one. That's something that we forget. We usually just try to do good future bounce from the beginning. We don't even know what future bounce is. So this is what we're going to do. And I'm going to be using a song which I released about 2 months ago, and it's called More to This, which is future bounce. So that's pretty much the track. And does it sound like future bounce? Is it future bounce? Really? That's the question. If so, why? And that's what I think that was my problem in the beginning. I knew how it sounded, but I didn't know what it was really. I thought I knew, but I didn't. So where do I want to go with this? Genres. The difference between every genre is all the little details. And for example, a genre at 150, hardstyle. A genre at 100, that's pop. And simple things like that will help you go into making future bounce. So, for example, we want to make a future bounce track. What do we need? What do we need? Who knows? Like I'm trying to do a future bounce track. And how do I start? That's the question. How do I start? How do everyone do it?
Just use choose kick, bass, and the appropriate lead or leads, right?
Okay, that's a good direction. But where do you get the bass from? How does the bass need to sound? Because you can make a bass, a lead, and drums, and that could be progressive house as well. So that's where I'm trying to go. You need to, before doing anything, you need to understand what you're doing. That's what I'm really trying to get to. So, future bounce is a subgenre of future house. It's very similar things like future house. So nowadays, future bounce was a little bit different. Now it's like a combination of big room, of group house, of future house. It's a combination of so many genres, but it doesn't matter how many genres you combine, it still is future bounce. And I'm going to use my song to explain why I did what I did and how you can do that as well in order to start making your own future bounce track. So, thing number one is, something really important is drums. That's the number one thing. And a lot of us starting producers don't really pay attention to that. And one thing that I noticed when listening to music, because that's what you should do in order to learn how to make another genre, listening to songs like by groups, by Mesto, by Mike Williams, by all those big guys, because they're the leaders, so we gotta follow them. And then maybe someday one of you will be better than them. Maybe you already are better than them, but you just don't know how to play it. And that's the idea. So, number one thing I noticed about future bounce is that the kick is always short. That can be further though. You can find a artist that uses a very long kick and a very short sub. So for example, Rude Lights, he uses a very very long kick, even a big room kick, and he uses a bass line. It's still future bounce. If we listen to this kick, that's at least how I do it, and Mesto and Mike Williams, it's usually a very small kick. Actually, that's a clap that I use for a layer. That's a top kick, and that's the main kick. The main kick without anything else sounds like this. Usually on my kicks, I use vintage warmer, as Brooks was saying. If you guys don't know this plugin, it's a very cool plugin. You should all get it. I also have a top kick, and the reason because I have a top kick is because I want to add a drum on top that's very wide, and so the kick. So like, if you listen, like there's something that I heard on Nestos that there's nowhere else, and that's the kick that he uses. He uses this certain kick that's so like circular, so spacey, and I was like, okay, in order to make future bounce, maybe I need to find a similar kick. So you put a top kick, you use a stereo imager, and this is a stereo imager I use. It's very cool. And then compression, it's the same compression as the one in the main kick, and it also has, I also cut the lows on this kick. So this kick, the top kick, usually sounds like this. And with all the effects and stuff, it sounds like this. Because I just want the top. Together with the other kick, they sound like this. But then I noticed that it's not just about having a short kick that's going to make it into future bounce. So you need to have another thing. It's if you listen to, for example, a progressive, it's usually just a kick. And in future bounce, it's a kick and a clap, a kick and a clap, a kick and a clap. So if you want to make future bounce, you got to make that as well, right? So in order, depending on what style you're trying to do, it's usually very small clap as well. Just something that gives space to the bass line. Because the bass line and the leads are like the main thing on future bounce. And this is my clap. I literally only have one clap, which is interesting, so I always have more than one. This clap, I even panned it to the left a little bit. I cut the lows, and I boosted some of the highs and stuff. If you want to start making cleaner mix sounds, I really suggest you start cutting the lows literally on everything except the kick and sub bass. Everything that goes 150 below, that's a good starting point if you're starting to mix your own songs. So next thing is we got the kick and the clap, right? But is that Future Bounce? Not yet. But is it something that Future Bounce has? That Future Bounce has? Yes. So that's something that we need to start thinking. What else does Future Bounce has? Someone?
Really bouncy bass lines.
Really bouncy bass lines. That's the number one thing. Actually, let's go into it. Something very important, and actually the most important thing, is the bass line. Mesto, Mike Williams, Brooks, all those guys are really known for that. The bass line that they used. In this case, I'm using a sub. Actually, that's a whole layer. I'm using a sub. That should sound like that. I'm using a layer of the bass that's part of the... Oh no, actually I made this one. It's not on any pack. It sounds like this. It's just like a vocal kind of thing. I mean, that's something that I use. You guys can do it as well. But usually, like, I don't know, Mesto doesn't really use any aggressive bass lines till his last release, actually. But it sounds like this. And the reason I use that layer is because I want, like it says over here, talking bass. I wanted to talk because I feel like Future Bounce really differs from other genres thanks to that, because it kind of talks. So for this bass line, I basically just cut the lows, cut more of the lows, a little bit of the highs, more of the lows, and I distort it a little bit and compress it. Yeah. Without the sub, it sounds like this, which is like very boring. But then I have the other bass line, which is one I made with Sam World. This is our pack. It's very aggressive, and it's very mid sounding. So for this bass line, I use compression, distortion, and actually this is a trick that nobody knew that I used, but it's an EQ, and I use extreme resonance to it to make it talk, because usually that's how Formant works. This is how it sounds alone. Without any effects, it sounds like this. So since I know that there's, after studying other tracks, such as Brooks tracks, such as Mesto's tracks, Mike Williams tracks, I noticed that it's not just the bass line. It needs to have something on top. So I really tend to like mix my tracks or my bass line in a sense that my bass line is only taking place in the bass and the mids. Just a little bit of the highs, but not really in the highs, because I know that we need plugs or something. So that's where the plugs come in, and they sound like this. If they only sound, they sound like this. So what I did for this leads, actually, depending on what kind of style you're trying to do for Future Bounce, there's like the Brooks style, and there's like the old Mesto style, which is using plugs on the drop instead of leads like Brooks. Brooks uses like leads. And what do I mean by leads and plugs is that plugs are something that just goes like very fast, and plugs and leads stay for a little longer. So this is a plug, basically. It's just a hit. I'm using Avenger for the actual main lead, if I can find it. So this is how it sounds when it opens. This is how it sounds. Another thing that I'm sure you guys already saw it, it's the reverb effects that we do. This is how it sounds without any reverb. Actually, no. This is how it sounds without any reverb. But I have my own send channel, which is called drop reverb. And I control it with a P controller, which basically makes the reverb go away whenever the pluck hits. So whenever the pluck stops sounding, the reverb comes in. So this is how it works. Visually, this is how it works. Actually, I need to activate it first. This is how it looks. So whenever there's a pause, the reverb comes in. As you can see, in order to do this, you just open 3D controller. You right click on the wetness of your reverb. You link to controller. Make sure you use P controller. And then you change the mapping formula into inverted. And after tweaking a little bit of the bass and the volume, you get that effect. It's very recommended if you're mixing a lot of leads together, because having different reverbs is just going to create a mess of space, and like you don't want to deal with that. Like if you have the same reverb for all your leads, it's going to sound like just one sound, which is cool. Actually, I'm using a layer. One of the layers sound like this. It's ugly, but it works with the other sounds. There's another sound. It's just they have a lot of portamento. That's another thing with future bounce. You need portamento, both bassline and leads. That's another. That's another. That's another. And they're all there for a reason. I felt like the plug, for example, if you feel like your main plug needs more mids, instead of EQing and adding mids through the EQ, just add a sound that has those qualities. And I think that's how I started using layering. Instead of like adding, like for example, let's say this lead needs more highs. Instead of adding more highs, find a sound that has highs and that sounds different. And that's not gonna only help you make it more technically good, but it's also gonna make it more creative, because different textures create a whole different sound in the end. So this is how it sounds. This is how the bass line and the leads sound together with the drums. It's very basic, but you'll see what I did on this track. There's another thing that I did, and I noticed that future bounce was kind of like a question, answer, question, answer, question, answer thing. So it's usually 4 bars of a melody, and then the other 4 bars, it's a totally different answer. Like I'm gonna try to invent a story. So it sounds like this. I don't know what it's saying, but it's kind of like crying for someone's attention. And then maybe the other person is replying something like, and it's maybe like, I imagine it, like if you start imagining it that way, it becomes easier. So basically, I can imagine that in this part, it's like me asking a girl out, like, do you want to be my girlfriend? And maybe that melody, do you want to be my girlfriend? I would say so, it doesn't work. And then the second part is like, maybe it's like she's saying like, what if? You know, that's how I imagine it. And then you gotta answer back. You gotta answer something. You gotta be smart. You're like, oh, but I have this. You know? And then she replies. She's like, alright, I'll go. I don't care, I'll go. So, once you start imagining that, you can even take more advantage of that. So, whenever she replies, that's how we're gonna say it. I add another sound that sounds like this. And not just that, but this as well. So the idea of that is that every time she replies, it creates a different atmosphere. Like it's very different, but not so different. Like you cannot notice that there's a huge difference, but there is a difference. And subconsciously you're getting it, which is good. You don't get bored of it because you're like, oh shit, I'm getting different tones and different harmonics. And then I added another thing, which it wasn't really used before. And back then, first future bounce tracks, we didn't really use chords on drops. But in this track, I did, and people are starting to use it now. So this is how it sounds. This is how the chords sound. These are two cymatics things, I think. They should be. Actually, no, it's yeah. Another one. Do you guys know how to do the layering thing that I'm doing here? In order to do that, like for example, I'm controlling two sounds, which are these two. If you want to do that, you click Shift, you select both of them, and then you click on Set Children, and now you're the mother of those sounds. So, the reason why I use chords in this track is because I feel like the melody is so basic and it's not so many notes, so you're not really getting that many harmonics as you wish you would have. So I'm actually going to play both of them together. This is the melody alone. And it's cool, but it's not really telling you all of the story behind it. So if you use chords, makes it even more interesting. I'm also using another thing that's weird, silent. And the reason for this is just to make some kind of impact every often. I'm going to play it again, the whole drop, just so you guys remember how it was. So, one thing that I have to tell you guys is, nowadays, there's this famous style that is coming up, and it's like the style that Madison Mars, Sagan, who else? I don't know, like, there's a lot of people doing this, but it's like mostly chords on drops. Oh, Don Diablo's doing this. And if you just make chords, it's going to sound cool. But if you put some pitch automation, which is what I'm doing on this chords, it's going to sound way better. This is how it sounds with the automations, the chords. So it sounds like boing, boing, and that's what we want. Something important in future bounce is that everything has some kind of portamento. So you got to really think about that. Whenever making something, it needs to have portamento, otherwise it's going to be some kind of, I don't know, it might turn into some happy, no copyright sounds track, and that's not what you want. So, well, maybe that's what you want. So, if we go further, I have another kind of effect. It sounds like this. And what that does, it kind of adds more mystery to the track. And I put it every, like, 8 bars. And what it does is just, instead of putting the same thing over and over and over again so people get bored, you add a little variation, something that they don't expect. It's obviously something that, it needs to be something on the same scale, on key, so it's not like out of nowhere. Usually something that you have either on the breakdown or on the second part of the drop. So what I'm doing here is not only making it less boring, but I'm adding something that you're gonna hear in the future. So like, this is how it sounds. And then in the second part of the drop, I also have it. So you like subconsciously know that it's coming. It's not gonna be that surprising. So it's good. You need to tell people what they're gonna hear. Otherwise, it's like people like simple, catchy stuff. And it can be complicated, but if you tell them that it's not gonna be so complicated, it's good. So actually for the bass line, I'm gonna show it to you guys from close. Something that you need to really do, like I was saying, is portamento. This is, especially this part, for example, it's not just a sustained note like this. Let's see. Listen to the difference. And now this. So it drags you. It kind of drags you. That's what like something future bounce producers do, which is cool. Another thing that I was telling one of the guys that was submitting a demo for us for Future House Style, even though I haven't released there. He was asking like, how can I make my drop more effective? And I think the most important thing is, like I was saying, telling the people that's listening to your song what they're gonna listen in the future. So make sure you always add your melody to the build-up. Just in maybe in a small sense, but you should tell them what's coming. Otherwise, they're gonna be scared. They're gonna be like, "Oh my God, aliens!" So, did I move anything?
Shout out to Rails.
So, this is the build-up. Let's listen to it and then break it down. If you put a kick in a clap, it's basically a drop. It's literally the same thing. The only thing is that, actually, he was saying last time, is a lot of people think that mixing and having a good master is just about low cutting and high cutting. And it's very important to use automations. If you use automations, you're gonna not only bring sounds in a subtle way, but you can also, like, I don't know, what can I show you guys? Like for example, the bass line, before the drop, if you want it to be more effective, should there be a lot of bass before the drop? But most of the time there shouldn't. Because it's like you want it to kind of, what I do for the drop is, I automate the low frequencies, kind of, I think. Yeah, I automate the low frequencies for, let's say, the bass line. This is an automation, a high pass filter for the bass line. So there's almost no bass in there. So when the drop hits, it becomes bigger. But not because there's more bass, simply because 2 seconds before there was no bass. There's a plugin that I really suggest you guys get, that is Endless Smile. It's really good. So, I'm dying. Endless Smile, it's a good plugin for saving time. I use it, and it's good for creating like energy, taking energy away or creating energy. So, for example, I have this chords, which, I have the leads actually. Being filtered. As you can see, it just keeps growing. And if you leave it the same way as it is in the drop, there's not going to feel like a drop. It's not going to feel like a drop because there should be a difference. That's crazy, dude. So, I also have another sound before the drop, and it sounds like this. Actually, it doesn't sound like that. It sounds like this. And that's just automations. I'm using a low pass. I'm using an Endless Smile. Without it, it sounds like this. Actually, it sounds the same. But without it, it sounds like this. And it's a sound I made on Serum. I don't know why, but I made it just because I felt like it was a good transition. This was actually going to be a part of another pack that we're making, Sin World and I, but it's like it doesn't make sense because you gotta automate it in order to be good. When I started making Future Bounce, I felt like the drop was the only important thing, and that's not true. If you don't have a good breakdown, they won't listen to your drop. Maybe they will if they skip it. But yeah, for the breakdown, I really suggest you guys, like for all of you struggling with it, is usually the breakdown is just a like deconstruction of the drop. So it's just details about the drop, because like I've been saying, you gotta tell them what's coming. Small details, like actually just in this breakdown, I have the whole bass line and the whole chords. For the breakdown is some 80s kind of bells. And they're from Nexus, which I never used, but they sounded good. And I was trying to go for like, I don't know, 80s groovy thing. And then this sound. It sounds very old and very bad and very cheap. But when you combine it, it sounds better. That's another piano, and then I have another piano. Like I was saying, what do you do when you layer? You look for something that the other sound doesn't have. So for this piano, it was like very normal, like talking like this. And then I added the piano that has more brightness, but it's still very muffled. Like you can't really hear the high frequency. So that's where the bell and the other 80s sound come. It makes it a little bit more interesting. Also the background, I always try to find recordings of real live things, such as, let's say you go to a cafe or something like that, but coffee shop, and not the Amsterdam coffee shop, just a coffee shop, and like you put your phone, you start recording, and I think that's a good way of telling the world what your world is. Because like for example, I can actually show you guys another project if you guys want. Like let's say I live in a very like rural place and there's cows and shit like that. Record that and show the world that that's where you are, you know? Maybe you're not going to tell them, but subconsciously they're going to be receiving, they're going to start identifying. Maybe someone has cows in their house and they're going to be like, oh my god, that's a cow. Sounds like mine. You know? Yeah, it's very important to pay attention to transitions. Always, like, a good breakdown and a good drop is melody, rhythm, and, I don't know, mix down, I guess. But you got to really always have rhythm. Otherwise, how's people going to dance? Like, people should always, you should always listen to your songs and be like, is this danceable? It's not just, is this dope drop? You know? So I don't know, maybe I think this is danceable. It's just, like I've said, it's just a deconstruction of the drop. And I have something else. Something I always use, and it's very important. It's part of the background, and it sounds like this. And it just stays like that until the second part of the breakdown, where it sounds like this. If you play it with a bass on it adds so much emotion. I think this is the bass line. Together with the chords and the bass line, it adds a lot of emotion. So pay attention to those sounds. And again, that's just used for not only making the track bigger, but telling another story. Because that's what we're here for. Like, it's like our therapy, but cheaper. You know? Whenever you have problems, either like you're fighting with your parents or something like that, write a melody about it. A lot of people ask me like, how do you stay inspired all the time? Well, because there's inspiration everywhere. If you look around, like, I don't know, maybe someone broke up with you. That's the best inspiration you can find. I don't know, just simple things like knitting groups. Like, if you go to your house, can you write a melody that can tell that story? Like as simple stories, like I don't know, me and you guys just being here. Can you guys go home and write a melody that says that we were here? Maybe not, because maybe I won't either. But it's about trying to actually giving that emotion. At the end of the day, we're all here because we want to connect with other people, and we want to feel something. My goal in music, for example, is to enhance others people emotions. So let's say you're happy. If you listen to my song, maybe you will be happier, and that's the idea, you know. Yeah, a lot of people are like, oh my God, I'm so depressed. I'm like, your songs are helping me. That's when you know that you're doing good. And that's like, if you make something very like festival-ish, do you think people's gonna relate to that? Maybe. There might be a way. Like maybe if they're mad, they're gonna listen to rhythm, and they might feel identified with it. But making melodic stuff, it's what we love. That's why we're here, because we want to share our feelings. We want to share our emotions. We want to make people feel. We want to make people fall in love. We want to make people connect with others. So yeah, these vocals are from a sample pack from Splice. How can let you do this? I don't know. And I threw a blue compressor in it with a preset called Smooth Radio, because it really didn't need anything. That's how Splice works. I removed the lows, and I think I added some highs and removed more lows. The breakdown sounds like this. Wait. How can let you do this? I don't know if I'm ever gonna be the same. Without vocals, it sounds like this. It's not as good. So, if you can rely on a good vocalist or finding good samples, it's really, really important. For example, the guys at Sagmatics, which I work for, but this is not a paid endorsement. They make really good stuff. They make really good quality. And like, if you're trying, again, going back to the beginning of the talk, if you're trying to do something, you've got to have not only sounds that sound like the persons, like the other people that are doing it, but it needs to be quality as well. Like maybe, yeah, it can be a short kick, like the one Nesco uses, but is it good quality? That's another thing that you need to ask yourself. I'm gonna open another project just in case you guys want to like see it.
Poetry.
You guys from poetry?
Poetry.
Okay, I'll try that. I'm opening it. This is not feature dance, but yeah. If I can find it. I think this should be the last one. Yeah. So Myra is a Swedish singer, and if you guys are struggling on finding vocalists, my number one tip is we have a tool, and there's this tool that you guys use every day, and you guys don't even notice, and it's called Instagram. If you guys look for the hashtag, because years ago, finding vocalists was really hard. Either you go on a website or you go to a school or something like that, you find someone that sings. I have this texture that I need to load. So, like I remember, like 3 years ago, trying to find a singer. My other friends would be like, "Oh, you should go on YouTube, look for a cover, and try to find a person that you like." And it sounds easy, but then trying to find the way of reaching them out, it's almost impossible most of the time. So, one thing that you guys can do is Instagram. Instagram has hashtags that you can follow. So if you look for a cover, you can find millions of singers, and not only that, but you can see the quality with what they record. But yeah, so once you find someone that has a good voice, Instagram is as simple as just messaging them. So that's a tip. So, if you guys have any other questions while I load this one, that'll be cool. Any question?
Something sprang into mind, but I'm not really sure if the question is suitable. I think your background is you were born in Mexico, you were based in California. I've heard of a music production school which is state-of-the-art, Icon Collective that is, and I think that many artists, including Mac J and other sensations in bass house and all types of house have emerged from there. For people all over here that maybe want to take those step forward in achieving the music career they want, relocating to US and going to any of these schools, is that something you recommend, and why?
I think it all depends. It all depends on who you are, on how much you're willing to work, on how much you're willing to spend, because that school is not really cheap. There's a lot of factors behind that. I'm from the U.S. I was born in Mexico and I was raised in the U.S. And also Mexico, it's a weird situation. But the U.S. it's mostly dubstep, mostly trap. And I've been there. I've been trying to get into EDC and stuff like that, and it is possible. But I think that I don't want to the thing that I've struggled with is that people. I don't want to just push music into someone's face, listen to my song, because I think that's what was happening. Because over there, the culture about EDM and stuff like that is not that big. Only pop, only trap music, dubstep and stuff like that. So I think nowadays you can make it anywhere. If you want to make it, you can make it anywhere. It's possible. It's not easy, but it's possible. And thanks to the internet, dude, I'm here, and it's if I really think about it, it's so weird that I'm here. If you only saw where I was born and stuff like that, you would be it's only the millionaires, only the narcs, because over there it's us. But I mean, Icon Collective, I know Joss, I know Nightmare, they all graduated from there. It's a cool school. It's $20,000 though, and it's 1 year. It's all about connections, all about, I don't know, it's a very sensitive thing. I'm not sure, it depends. Do you want to spend money? Because maybe there's guys out there that are not going to school and they're better than most of the guys that are out of school. You know what I mean?
Mostly we have to do with the pursuit of doing something special, because we have producers that are hobbyists that just want to do this to make a living. Mm-hmm. We have some other ones who have devoted their lives in this one and are willing, for example, to relinquish all other habits or day jobs, something like that, just to pursue something they dream of.
Yeah.
In order to achieve the best possible result, what actually would you suggest, for example, from your own experience, having reached where you are at this age?
So I'm 20, and but don't ever think that just because you're 17, you're not good enough. Your age does not define your knowledge, because you can be in a room for 50 years and not learn anything. Obviously, that's not going to happen. Hopefully, but I think that there's a point where you need to ask yourself. Because I remember being in high school, and I remember teachers asking us, what do you want to do for a living? What do you want to do for a living? And I remember I was so nervous because I didn't know what I was going to do, even though I liked music. But it's not like a real career, you know? At least people over there, they want you to study either management, something like that, something basic, something that's secure. But one day I woke up and I asked myself, it is something that you guys need to ask as well. Is it really about what do you want to do for a living, or what do you want to die doing? Because I asked myself, if I die tomorrow, am I going to be happy studying something that I don't really enjoy? And that's something that you really need to think about it. And like, in order to stay motivated every day, because it's very hard, dude. I don't see my mom, I don't see my sisters, and I'm not saying it just so you guys feel bad for me. Like, I don't care. I'm happy with it. What I think you should do is find something that you love. And find something that you love, I'm not saying like, for example, let's say, what's your favorite food?
We can say pasta or something.
Pasta. Okay, you love pasta, but would you eat pasta for every day?
Of course.
Till the day of your death.
I would be getting bored even
Exactly.
in a week.
That's the thing. You would get bored, or something would happen. So I think I was thinking that I wanted to do music, but is it really music that I want to do every day? And I think it goes above that. It goes even beyond that. You should see beyond what you love and go for something else. Because I love making music, but do I want to make music my whole life? Is that a good way of like motivating yourself? Like, are you gonna wake up every day? Maybe not. Like, there's writer's block. If you go beyond, I found something beyond, and what I found is connecting with people. There's nothing better than connecting with people, spreading love. There's something better than that, and like, it's not just the fact of making music that motivates me, and it goes above you. It goes even beyond. It goes to a spiritual level, to love, affection, just that. I mean, it's just everything around love. Like, so you got what you gotta do is find something you love, but not something artificial. It has to be something very emotional, very sensitive. So what do you want to do? Do you want to help people with their emotions? People that want to kill themselves? I don't know.
Well, just as you said, it's my PhD that I've been doing in the UK has to do with creating a software in instructing composition to people with autism.
That's amazing, dude. That's amazing.
And this is why actually I do know that this disability, especially Asperger's, which is one facet of that, is associated with difficulties in expressing and processing emotions. So the remark which you made is very close to the studies that I've been doing, and I feel that trying to transmit emotions through music, even this dance type of music, is a way of subconsciously transmitting emotions, I guess.
Yeah, frequencies in general. Frequencies in general is either it's, I don't know, just images, whatever. You gotta look for that. You gotta look for what really fits your soul and not your wallet. It will eventually fill your wallet, obviously, but you can make money with anything, dude. I can sell you this thing, and it kills you, but I can sell it to you. People still buy this shit. This is poetry. I'm gonna go real quick because we don't really have time anymore. So this is a contact sample. This is contact, but it's two different sounds. This thing creates minor atmos. It sounds like this. Different ones. And then this is a major one. And this is a very cool thing. Like, I wish I could explain how it works. But I'm basically switching it through major and minor because the melody, the chord progression is major and minor. For this track, I'm going to go straight to the drop. This is how drop sounds. This is the vocal of the... It's very distorted. In order to do this, if you guys are trying to do this kind of vocals, this is how it sounds. This is a vocal. It has reverb. It has a lot of effects. Yeah, this is reverb. The same thing. It's just a trigger. Just trigger the reverb whenever the lead stops playing. It has compression, which I don't have anymore. It has Saturn. It has Pro R, which is a reverb and when it does, it's like it's pushing the sound all the way to the back. I'm eliminating resonances. There's another EQ, just boost. There's a magic stereo. This guy is like fully stretched. Also, endless amount. This guy's very sad. And pretty balanced for the side chain. And then we got a sausage fattener. And I use sausage fattener to limit my songs. Actually, this is my master. I'm going to show it to you real quick. On my master, I have a EQ. I have a mid-side EQ, so I'm making mono everything below 125 125 hertz. And then I'm making everything a little bit wider on the high side. I got a sausage fattener of 1%, and then I got another limiter just to eliminate the peaks and stuff like that. And then I have another fruity balance, which I use before the drop. I automate the volume, so it goes a little bit down, then in the drop it goes all the way up, which is a very cool thing to do. For the sounds, I'm using a layer of cymatics chords. And then the kick is a very basic one, very punchy, very small. Like I like them that way. And then the snare. Actually, there's another one around there. Yeah, it's here. They're all cymatics. And for the bass line, a lot of people think that it doesn't sound like Jay Eskar, but it is Jay Eskar because I'm actually using a very similar sound. This is how it sounds. So it's not just the 808s. This is how it sounds. With the bass line. And it's a layer. It has a lot of stuff. It has some resonance, exaggeration. That's how I call it. I don't know how it's called. I remove the lows because it is a bass but not a sub bass. Then sausage fattener, magic stereo, and EQ. I wish I had more time, but tomorrow we got more time. Tomorrow we can talk about more stuff. But what I really like, the idea of this is making you guys think above just like, how do I EQ my kick? Because you can find that on Google. You can find that on Google, but who is going to inspire you? Who's going to try to open your mind into actually doing good? You know, so I hopefully it moves like a ring on it rings something on your brain, and you start asking yourself, and you're going to be like, shit, whenever you're eating or something like that, you're going to be like, what do I love? What do I really love? That's something to think about. So yeah, hey, you guys have any questions?
Do you have some time for a final one? Now that you talked about fruity balance, what is the difference in the end result between using the fruity balance to automate the volume and doing this manually, and automating the volume manually?
The difference is really not like it's not. It depends, because this kick, it has a very weird rhythm. It's not boom boom boom. It's not boom boom. It's not like, it's not 1/4. It's not 1/8. It's not 1/2. So there's like, if you open that kickstart, it can only work in squares. And since this is a very complex kick, I use it because that's the only way I can do it. There's also another way, as linking the MIDI input of the kick to something, and then it side chains automatically whenever the kick hits. But on future bass and dubstep, you gotta side chain your snare as well, not just your kick. So they're different. But like, to answer your question, there is a difference because I can do it manually. I can write them like, yeah, and it goes all the way to 0 decibels. And I think LFO2 doesn't or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, it's just more control. But make sure you use a fruity balance and not the mixer track, not the mixer channel, because then you're not going to be able to like control the actual volume, you know. So yeah. Yeah, last question.
Do you have any unreleased demos you can show us?
I don't think I have time.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow I'll play whatever, dude. Write me on Instagram, like whatever you guys would like to see, like, yeah. This is like a friends meeting. It's not me talking, you know. But yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for coming, guys. I really appreciate it.